Let me tell you a story. It's about how, as changelings, how we live together, how we interact together, and how we sometimes manage to not kill each other. It's the story of freeholds, pretty much. Freeholds are places, magical places. The cave under the bridge, the palace on top of the hill that only fairy eyes can see. You know the kind, you've heard those stories. And in the middle of this, a balefire that brings glamour. There are places of glamour in this world, so they're the perfect place to congregate. Hence they are very, very valuable. And many a war has been fought to determine who will control them. But a war is just another form of story, isn't it? With a lot more blood and pain. And whoever wins at the end of that story, they become the noble. They control the freehold. And then commoners flock to it, and they set themselves up as a court, as a society. At least that's the traditional way of doing it. Noble, court of commoners, common cause and incredible arguments within it. Within the freehold, you can do magic, you can be yourself, you can sculpt your words and sculpt your dress and have a lot of fun, to be honest. Of course, a lot of fun, meaningful fun. You have to leave them, you have to go on quests. But this is the basic traditional division. Nobles ruling freeholds, commoners forming their court. Now, of course, nowadays, especially with the she who went off to Arcadia, we don't always like nobles. There are pure commoner freeholds. And there are not many freeholds, not as many as there used to be. The paths are closing. So what that means is there's a lot more nobles than there are freeholds. So freeholds without nobles and nobles without freeholds. One of the most important dynamics in changeling society. But beyond this, there's a greater level of organization with the Seelie and the Unseelie courts, and maybe the Shadow Court as well. The Seelie Court, well, this is elves. Tolkien's elves, think about that. Glorious and organized. And a little bit set in their ways, shall I say. But I'll go through their commandments. Death before dishonor. Your honor or your determination to do what should be done is the most important thing. You should be ready to face death rather than compromise. And that's a point where I can agree with them on love conquers all. Very sweet, but in a very Seelie way. It's kind of two people coming together in true love. It is fantastic, it's ultimate, and it is the merger of two into a greater whole. Now, don't get me wrong, fantastic true love is some of the most precious thing in the world. But if you had one true love one week, there's nothing stopping you having another true love the next week. Beauty is life. Yes, everything is about beauty. Everything is about perfection, getting the beauty and getting the creativity. It's fine as far as it goes. But a little bit of ugliness, a little bit of nightmares added to it can just add that little extra. And finally, never forget a debt. This is how Seelie society functions. You do something, you pay it back. You take an oath, you fulfill it, you get payment. All very regimented, all very banal. It works for them, but imagine being an individual bound in such a web of debts. In contrast, of course, there is the Unseelie court, the more important one. Change is good. Change is always good. Even the change to banality brought new things. You can learn so much by looking at the structures of society and changing them, tearing them down, rebuilding anew and changing that. Glamour is free. Why don't you penny pinch your glamour from your bail file, dealing it out piece by piece across. You can have this much, you can have this much, you can have this much, and I'll keep this for and invest it for later safekeeping. Glamour is everywhere. Creativity exists everywhere. We should just go out and take it. Honor is a lie. It's the third commandment of the Unseelie court, and this is very true. Honor is a shackle. It is about being forced to behave a particular way. And if you see those who spout about honor, they are very interested in the honor of their underlings and not so interested in their own honor. It is just a way of manipulating people, making them do what you want. People go on about how the trolls are so honorable. Honor is all about violence, reacting in a certain way to set insults. Violence can be good. I like to explode with violence at some poor unsuspecting fool who's done me a minor insult, and then just gaze stoically as someone attempts to rouse my anger and gives me great injury. Yes, yes, I will say. Honor is a lie. And finally, passion before duty. Passion is what makes us go, what gives us purpose, what gives us meaning, what moves us forward, what creates anything in the world has to start with passion. Duty is just the regimentation. It's like honor. So always follow your passion. I kind of feel that it wasn't a deep passion for psychiatry that got you stuck in this job now then, was it? There's other courts. There's the so-called shadow court, but that's not a full court. That's just maybe a moment of transition. Back in history, the Unseelie and the Seelie court used to alternate being in charge. And there's still an importance at the moment where the transition used to happen. And that's where you have the shadow court. It's a complete reversal of all of the rules of society. Commoners commands to nobles. Nobles without freeholds get to experience what it's like for a while. The Seelie unleash their passions. And the Unseelie, well, we think about, well, there's some advantages to order. Let's try being organized for once. Let's see what it is. And we can see the appeal. You can get so much accomplished. It's a trap, but a really golden one, and it's good to step into traps now and then. And then, of course, because every garden needs a snake, there's rumors of a black court, of our old enemies, who use the shadow court and use moments of revelry to manipulate us, to undermine us. Does the black court exist? Well, yes, of course it does. It's a story. Does it not exist? Well, of course it does. Their defeat is also a story. I'm sure one day I will find a member of the Black Court manipulating us and moving forward our doom. And I'm sure one day I will find irrefutable evidence the Black Court never existed.